Brahimi affirms he hasn't come to the region to promote any Russian-American project, and the Geneva statement is enough to solve the Syrian crisis. Russia affirms that there is no Russian-US plan to settle the crisis in Syria, and the Geneva statement is the basis of a solution. Booby-trapped car explodes in Damascus suburbs and heavy losses are inflicted on terrorists. Good afternoon and welcome to our news for today. The UN envoy to Syria, Mr. Al-Akhdar al-Brahimi, has voiced belief that the Geneva statement includes enough ideas to solve the crisis in Syria in the coming few months. Also, although it may require some amendments, yet no new ideas need to be added to it, he affirmed. In a press conference held in Damascus today, al-Brahimi said, "Nobody supports the acts of extremist groups and the influx of weapons into Syrian terrorists should stop."
The UN envoy to Syria, Mr. Al-Akhdar al-Brahimi, has said the crisis in Syria should be solved by the Syrians, but with a big assistance from the world. He said he didn't come to the region to promote any Russian-American project on the crisis in Syria. He affirmed that violence should stop and therefore strong observation by a peacekeeping force is needed. This proposition has been misunderstood by certain sides, al-Brahimi added, and others suggested the presence of foreign troops in Syria. But the fact is that such troops would not be foreign, they would come with the consent of concerned sides. Al-Brahimi said the Syrian crisis can be solved through bringing together viewpoints among the Syrians. If the Syrians are not capable of doing this alone, Al-Brahimi went on, the world community and all peoples should help them in bringing about what is good, not bad, for them. Al-Brahimi pointed out that cooperation is needed to protect, strengthen and rebuild institutions. In reply to a question on the financial and military support rendered by Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the USA to the armed terrorist groups in Syria, Al-Brahimi said what these countries are doing is not a secret, and the UN Secretary General has taken advantage of every opportunity in order to call for the halt of the influx of weapons into Syria, one of the issues that should be agreed upon. Al-Brahimi voiced conviction that the situation in Syria represents a big danger not only for the Syrian people but also for neighboring countries and the world.
The Russian Foreign Ministry official spokesman, Mr. Alexander Lukashevich, has said there is no Russian-US plan to settle the situation in Syria, pointing out that Russia depends only on the Geneva statement. Russia Today website has quoted Lukashevich as saying in a press conference today that Moscow believes there is no other alternative to the Geneva statement, which should be considered as a basis for finding a solution to the situation in Syria. Referring to rumors about chemical weapons used in Syria by the Syrian government, Lukashevich said such talk aims at inviting foreign intervention into the Syrian crisis and creating a state of panic among Syrian citizens and foreign nationals in the country. On the other hand, Lukashevich said Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will conduct talks with al-Brahimi next Saturday to discuss questions related to a political settlement in Syria and al-Brahimi's recent efforts to stop the violence and start a comprehensive national dialogue between the government and the opposition on the basis of the Geneva statement. Lukashevich said that Mr. Faisal al-Mikhdad's visit to Moscow comes within the framework of Russia's diplomatic efforts to develop dialogue with the government and the opposition. The Russian Defense Ministry has announced that Navy infantry units specialized in anti-terrorism operations are on board. The Russian vessels off Syrian shores will conduct drills of securing ships. In a statement, the ministry said the Russian Navy will carry out trainings on anti-air defenses, vessels and submarines. The statement added that the big Nikolai Velechinkov and Azov vessels belonging to the Russian Black Sea Fleet have crossed the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits, and will soon join the group of Russian vessels which consist of the missile torpedo Moscow, the guard vessel Smitlevi, carrier Bobnov, and ship tractor BS-406. This group of vessels is performing fighting service tasks in the eastern part of the Mediterranean. On the other hand, Russia's permanent representative at the UN, Vitaly Churkin, criticized the U.S. stand regarding human rights, pointing out that the U.S. shows indifference towards such issues. He pointed out that although the U.S. wants to introduce itself as a pioneer in defending human rights, but it often shows carelessness towards international treaties on human rights. He stressed that the U.S. was among the few countries in the world which voted against the establishment of a Human Rights Council. On the other hand, the latest investigations conducted by the Algerian army regarding camps for training armed men in Tunisia have revealed that the persons in charge of these camps are training the terrorists who are willing to join terrorist organizations that are fighting in Syria and Iraq. The Algerian Al Khabar Daily said initial information indicates that the supervisors of these training camps have come from Libya to Tunisia with the purpose of training armed men and sending them to Syria. The paper said that upon receiving confirmed information that 3 training centers have been monitored in Jandouba in Tunisia, 60 kilometers away from the Algerian borders, commander of the Algerian National Gendarmes, Major General Ahmed Boustila, held a meeting with the commanders in the province to study the issue and work to avoid the arrival of the terrorists into Algeria or their use of Algerian territories as a passage in order to realize their objectives. 4 citizens were killed and 10 others injured in an explosion of a booby-trapped car in Al-Spene and Nahar Street in Damascus countryside. Most of the martyrs and injured are students. Our armed forces have eliminated dozens of terrorists and destroyed their machine gun-equipped cars in a series of operations in Idlib suburbs. An army unit has repelled a terrorist group at a barricade in a Shughur village in Jisr al-Shughur, killing and wounding all the members of the group. Another unit eliminated a large number of terrorists in Psankul village, including their leader, and destroyed a missiles launcher. 4 cars loaded with arms, ammunition, and terrorists, as well as 2 pickup vehicles provided with machine guns, were destroyed in Taum village near Saraqib in Idlib suburbs. A 3rd army unit also killed a number of terrorists and destroyed their cars in Binnish. In Al-Raqqa and in cooperation with citizens, competent authorities intercepted a dump truck loaded with about 3 tons of explosives near That al-Sawari school in Raqqa. The engineering units managed to dismantle the deadly devices. In Hama countryside, an army unit clashed with an armed terrorist group in the village of Bsairin, killing and wounding dozens of them. Specialized authorities also confronted an armed terrorist group which tried to attack an army checkpoint in Abu Ubaida village in Mharde and Jinan village, killing and wounding a number of them. The High Committee for Urgent Aid discussed during its regular session in Damascus the measures necessary to speed up the process of finding more centers for housing displaced families. Discussion focused on setting up mechanisms for better coordination between the government and the international bodies, which would guarantee the flow of aid into hard-hit families. Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, Dr. Jasem Mohammed Zakaria, pointed out that the committee is ready to intervene to offer the urgent aid needed, especially to children. For his part, State Minister of the Syrian Red Crescent Affairs, Joseph Swede, referred to the implementation of an initiative by the World Food Programme to make available fuel and flour to bakeries and confront all challenges. In Egypt, as division between the government and the opposition increases following the controversial vote on the new constitution, the spokesman of the National Salvation Front Hussein Abdel Ghani stressed determination to continue peaceful struggle to restore legitimacy to the Egyptian political life after being severely undermined by President Morsi's policy. In a press conference, Abdel Ghani stressed that the front rejects the current formulation of the Shura Council, adding that the dialogue conducted by the presidency is not serious. This came as President Morsi asked Prime Minister Hisham Kandil to introduce changes to the government in order to meet the current challenges. With this, we come to the end of our news bulletin for today. Thank you for watching. For more information about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. And now to latest business and market news with Vani Gwenjian after a short break.